Everyone ignored the woman in the wheelchair at the wedding. But when a quiet server grabbed the mic, what he revealed silenced the entire room. You won't believe who she really was. The grand ballroom shimmered with golden lights as guests arrived in designer gowns and tuxedos. It was a lavish wedding, meant to impress the elite and dazzle social media. Among the guests, wheeled quietly into a corner, sat a woman with silver hair and tired eyes. She was the wife of the former CEO, now paralyzed after a tragic car accident a year ago. Once the star of every event, tonight she was treated like she didn't exist. No one offered her champagne. No one came to greet her. The couple's influence had faded, and with it, so had their invitations to the elite table. Her hands trembled slightly as she adjusted her shawl, watching people pass by. Even her own family seemed too busy posing for photos and mingling with big names. She blinked back tears, reminding herself she had come only for her niece's happiness. The bride's father, a distant cousin of the paralyzed CEO, avoided her eyes. Other guests whispered about her from afar, wondering who the old lady in the wheelchair was. She had once been a businesswoman in her own right, full of strength and vision. But after her husband's accident, she had stepped back from the spotlight to care for him. People saw her weakness, not her loyalty. Her silence, not her sacrifices. She had dressed with care today, wearing a pearl brooch her husband gave her on their anniversary. But the glances she got were full of pity, not respect. A server passed with hors d'oeuvres, but didn't stop, just like the others. She began to feel invisible, wondering if she should have even come. Memories of better days flickered in her mind like fading photographs. In a corner of the hall, a young black server named Elijah noticed her. He was tall, calm, and observant, with a kind heart hidden behind a quiet face. While others focused on pleasing VIP guests, he watched the woman being overlooked. He saw the loneliness in her eyes, the pain behind her polite smile. Carrying a glass of water and a small plate of food, he walked toward her. "Ma'am, may I offer you something? You must be tired," he said gently. Surprised, she smiled warmly for the first time that evening. "Thank you. You're the first to notice me," she whispered. Elijah felt a twist in his chest. How could such a gracious woman be treated this way? He decided to sit by her for a moment, even if it meant risking his job. They spoke softly, away from the glitz and flash of the main event. She shared stories of her husband, how strong he once was, and how proud he had been. Elijah listened with full attention, nodding and smiling, giving her space to feel human again. He learned that she had personally helped fund the venue they were standing in. Years ago, she had donated to a scholarship program that helped kids like him go to school. "I owe so much to people like you," he said, eyes filled with gratitude. But no one here seemed to remember that. To them, she was just a forgotten woman in a chair, not a pillar of the community. Elijah felt a rising sense of injustice, a need to speak up. He excused himself and headed toward the front of the hall. The DJ had just paused the music for the cake-cutting announcement. Elijah grabbed a mic, something no server should ever do, and cleared his throat. People turned, annoyed and confused, murmuring among themselves. "I know I'm just a server," he began, his voice steady, "but I need a moment." He gestured toward the woman in the wheelchair, sitting alone in the back. "That lady over there, she's not just a guest. She's a reason many of us even stand here today." Silence fell like a curtain. People glanced at each other, guilt creeping into their eyes. The bride froze, realizing she hadn't even greeted her great-aunt properly. Family members looked away, ashamed of their neglect. Elijah stepped away from the mic and returned to the woman, offering his arm. The event planner quickly brought a spotlight to her corner. The bride rushed over and knelt by her, apologizing with tears in her eyes. Guests followed, one by one, offering apologies, gratitude, and memories. Some hadn't even realized who she was, how far she had fallen from the center of attention. But now, she was no longer invisible. She was honored, hugged, and spoken to with the respect she had long deserved. Tears welled up in her eyes, but they were no longer from pain. For the first time in years, she felt seen, not for her wheelchair, but for her worth. Her voice, though soft, began to fill the room with stories and wisdom. She told of her husband's fight, the challenges of caregiving, and the strength love gave her. Even those who once avoided her now listened with admiration. People formed a circle around her, not out of pity, but out of honor. The bride asked her to bless the couple, placing her frail hand on theirs. And the paralyzed CEO, watching through a live stream, smiled proudly through tears. His wife had become a light again, not just to him, but to everyone. And all because a server had chosen to speak the truth. After the event, the bride sent a handwritten note of apology and appreciation. The woman's photo now graced the wedding album as one of the central figures. News of the moment spread through social media, not as gossip, but as a powerful message. The venue offered to dedicate a room in her name, honoring her legacy. Elijah received recognition from the management and was offered a scholarship to continue his studies. But more than awards, he felt proud to have done the right thing. The woman's dignity had been restored, not by fame, but by kindness. A new bond formed between her and Elijah, one of mutual respect and gratitude. She invited him for tea the next week, wanting to know more about his dreams. Their connection reminded everyone, one voice can change the silence. Weeks later, the woman began working on a memoir, encouraged by the attention. Elijah helped her type the pages, learning more about resilience with every chapter. She included the story of that wedding night. The night's silence was broken. Her words carried wisdom that inspired not only Elijah, but thousands online. She began receiving letters from people across the country, thanking her for her strength. People who had also felt invisible found courage in her story. Her wheelchair was no longer a symbol of limitation. It became a symbol of quiet power. And Elijah? He became more than a server. He became a voice for the forgotten. Together, they sparked a ripple of change, one heart at a time. And it all began when truth was spoken in the midst of celebration. The ballroom still hosts glamorous weddings, with laughter and light in every corner. But now, there's a framed photo of that woman near the entrance with a quote beneath it. Never ignore the quiet ones. They may hold the loudest truths. Her legacy lives on in more than just memories. It's in the lives she touched. Elijah visits her every month, still learning, still sharing dreams. Her husband, though paralyzed, smiles brighter now, knowing her strength never went unnoticed. Their story is told at charity events, inspiring compassion and dignity for all. And every time a guest arrives at the venue, they pass that photo and pause. Because one act of courage from a humble server reminded the world of what matters. Respect, kindness, and truth, spoken when others choose to stay silent.